What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals Comics, and we are live again. Middle of the week live show. Happy Tuesday. We got a show to do today. A few things to talk about, as always, beforehand. We're going to let some folks get through. If you guys are watching this on the replay, of course, you might want to fast forward to a few minutes. Guys, lots of stuff to talk about. This is something that I think is very important to us as collectors and how we are collecting moving forward and the future state of the market. Okay. MCU Spec is dead. Now, don't take that out of context. Before I talk about it, we're going to break it down. And I do want to let folks know, too. I'll probably say this a couple times today. Ironically, good friend of the channel, an amazing content creator, Swaggle Haas, released a video just about an hour ago with the thumbnail saying Spec is dead. And I just want to let everyone know that this is a completely different approach. It just happened. I had this planned for a couple of days now. It just happened that he, kind of was talking about Spec and threw that out there. But I'm going to explain why. Actually, we're going to talk about what Mickey Swaggle Haas was talking about, because I agree with him, because he was saying that Spec isn't necessarily dead. We'll get into that, though. Again, we're going to let a few minutes pass, let some more folks get in. I'm going to say what's up to some people. Goonish, what's going on? Big Head, Raising Elm. Simon, what's going on, Simon? GT Key Comics, what is up? Spec can't die. I'm going to break it down, guys. Like I said, man. A few updates, guys. I am getting ready for my next Whatnot sale, and it's going to be an Avengers theme sale. So I'm very excited about this. My last 3 sales have been nothing but Spider-Man. So those are awesome. Everyone loves Spidey, but we're going a new direction. I'm hoping to have that in about 2 weeks, maybe even this next Friday. We shall see. I've been having a lot of issues with the Whatnot app, people. To be honest, I'm not happy. I've been in communication with their support team. I've been requesting a phone call. I have not been granted a phone call, which is making me even more upset, because there's a lot of glitches happening that is affecting me as a seller, that is affecting my buyers. And to be quite honest, it's really turning me off from using the app. I don't want that to be the case, but we'll see how this turns out. I will be making a video about it, discussing these issues, because it's multiple issues. Odd Skuro, what is going on? Como's here. What's up, Como? MA3 Circumstances, what's going on? Who else we got? Aggressively relaxing. So a couple more minutes, guys, before we get into the big topic of discussion. I do want to take a moment to say, today is 26 days since we lost Tupac Shakur, a man that has changed my life, literally. I've had the great honor. I never met him, but I've had the honor to meet some of his family in his group, the Outliers, and I was able to make music with them over the years. And I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this, but I'm sure many of you can appreciate Tupac and his legacy that he left behind. So, of course, we honor him today. And I'll speak on the quote that I live by, that he said, "I'm not saying I'm going to change the world, but I guarantee that I will spark the brain that will change the world." And since I woke up from my mental slumber, from changing my life where I was headed down a really dark place, I've used that quote to carry me through life. And I believe that it's kind of like, with great power comes great responsibility, for Peter Parker, right? It's like that was passed down to me. It is my duty, my responsibility to spark those brains. He sparked my brain. Now I need to spark those brains in any way we can, whether it's me being an educator in the classroom, or even me being here with you guys talking about comic books. And in some way I can, jolt some, light inside of your guys' brains and souls to go out and just be better in the world, whether that is the simplest thing of just being better human beings to each other, So that's my mission today that I want to express, to pay my tribute to a man that, like I said, literally his music and his influence saved my life, literally, not figuratively speaking, literally. So I gotta say that 26 years is crazy. The longer the time passes, for me, the bigger the empty hole gets. But yeah, so with that being said, Geminis, yep. Yeah, DMX was dope, man. I mean, he has some deep music too. Oh gosh, circumstance. Yeah, whatever. We're not even gonna get into that. Anyways, guys, look, hey, circumstances, at least at least you have what's the word to use? A fun energy about yourself, you know. I don't feel for the most part that you come off as somebody that is just trying to be an a-hole. And that's a good thing. I'm not just saying that to say that. It's a good thing. Ted, what's going on, Ted? Thank you, Simon. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, man. You know that. All right, guys, let's see. A couple more things before we get into the topic of discussion. We're having I will be doing a public Friday Night Live this Friday, but it will be a special Friday Night Live because it's going to be my Patreon only Q&A, where basically I take all of my Q&A or questions from my patrons and I answer them live. But it's going to be public, so all of you guys get to join. You get to hear all the amazing questions, and I get to answer them. So hopefully everyone can learn from that. So it's going to be an open discussion. My patrons actually voted to keep it public. So thank them for allowing the public and all of you guys to have access to these awesome Q&As in the conversation. So that's going on this Friday. I don't have a set time yet. We'll get into that, or I'll announce that in a couple of days. No comic book canon this Sunday. We are off this Sunday. We'll be back the following week. We launched the props or flop segment, guys. I posted that segment yesterday. So if you haven't checked out that video, it's a completely new segment. You guys get to participate by entering books via Instagram. So go watch that video. You can learn all about it. All right, Mr. Snick, what's going on? Spec isn't gone. We're going to get into it now, guys. Let's get into the topic of discussion, and let me explain what I'm saying. Comic probe. Yeah, right. And that's not what I'm talking about. But I will say this. Sean, appreciate it. Truly appreciate you, Sean. Thank you so much. That means a ton to me, really. MCU Spec is dead, guys. Let's get into the topic of discussion. What the hell do I mean? What do I mean? I love it. Right on. What do I mean by this? And ironically, big shout out to Swaggle Hoss. If you haven't checked out the video he dropped today, he did a video with the thumbnail saying Spec is dead. And we didn't plan this. I didn't even know that was coming. I had this plan and I'm like, man. But I watched most of the video and basically he was like trolling, nah, just kidding. Spec ain't dead. Look at the market. It's going crazy. We just had D23 and all these books are booming. We have the Leader's first appearance. That's booming. Red Guardian is booming again because now he's part of the Thunderbolts. Ghost is booming, and he broke it down. Big shout out to Swag for doing what he does. And he's right. We have D23 and everything that was announced. Man Thing went crazy. Because guess what? FOMO is alive and well. FOMO is absolutely alive and well. But when I say MCU Spec is dead, what I mean is the money factor after the FOMO. And I can't believe we're 9 months into this year because I started this year saying I've always been the optimist, guys. I've been the optimist. I appreciate every aspect of this hobby. I appreciate those that, collect runs, that collect to read, that collect for the art, that collect for the long-term investment. I appreciate people that just want to flip and make some money. I appreciate those people that collect variants. I don't hate anybody that collects for whatever reason makes them happy. But going into this year, even after the COVID boom, and some of the markets started cooling off, FOMO was going crazy. And if you guys remember back in January, I did a live stream talking about this. I said, I'm actually concerned. And I broke it down on a psychological and socio-cultural level of what FOMO is. FOMO doesn't pertain just to comic books. It's this socio-cultural conditioning to our psyche and how we react to things, how we become entitled, the fight or flight, gimme, gimme, gimme mentality. This is a real thing that we accept culturally. And it's really showing its face. It's a very much addictive personality, and we're fiending for the dopamine fix. And that's exactly what's going on right now with all the D23 announcements. Again, I won't go watch Swag's video. He pulled up everything that's going on eBay to all the characters that were announced at D23, and we got record sales. It doesn't matter that the stock market's still hurting, the economy's still hurting. I'm still paying almost $6 a gallon for gas here in Cali. Some of the market's trending down, but anytime we get a trailer, anytime we get a casting, anytime we get an option of an indie book, boom, the FOMO kicks. I need it. It's nuts. So that's not what I'm talking about as being dead. That's not what I'm talking about. That is alive and thriving right now. That's right. New age. I agree. Once again, this ain't clickbait. This is not clickbait. MCU Spec is dead. We're really looking at all Spec, but MCU because of how potent the MCU Spec has been. I'm going to explain figure drawing. Don't go jump into conclusions saying I'm clickbaiting. Not at all. I mean what I say, but I want to give context before you guys take it out of context. Saying that the Spec is dead doesn't mean FOMO isn't alive and breathing. What I mean by this, now that I gave context, FOMO's alive and well, folks. Look at D23. But what do I mean when I say MCU Spec is dead? It's this. You guys are dead in the water paying this money right now because those books are going to drop. Because the spec dies on the spot. Not on the spot, but it doesn't last. And how it's crazy to me that people still FOMO out and spec. I'm done. I'm so done specking myself. I mean, we'll come back to that because there is a smart way to spec. But the spec market is dead for any of you that get a trailer, get an announcement, get an option, and go pay these crazy prices for these books. It's dead for you. It is absolutely dead. And because of the FOMO being so much through the roof, that's why specking is dead. Because it doesn't work. It doesn't pan out. And I'm going to give you guys 5 examples. And we can come back here in 6 months and look at the current market of the D23 stuff. Because you go watch Swag's video, all these books are booming, 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 record sales. But let's do this. Let's bring up some examples, folks. I don't, and again, I'm never someone that sits here and tries to tell somebody what to do with their money and how to collect comic books. But I don't understand why people are still buying books for crazy prices when they get an announcement, a trailer, a casting, an option. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. I mean, everyone that's doing this, you got to be watching YouTubers. You got to be watching YouTube. You got to be, you got to be hip to the market to some extent. I mean, do people just not care because they're so in their addiction to FOMO? They need that dopamine fix so bad. Let's look at some examples, folks. We're going to pull these up. Here we go. First example, Vengeance #1. First appearance of America Chavez. It's been what? When did this film come out? May? I don't even remember. I think it was May, right? So it hasn't even been a half a year. And, you know, when we knew she was coming, look at these 9.8s right here. Look at what they were doing. Let's zoom in a little bit. Can we zoom in a little bit? Look at this, guys. This book was selling for $500, $600, $700, and we know she's coming, right? We get the trailer, and boom, it jumps up to over $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, $1,900, $1,500, $1,200, $1,600, $1,500. It is booming, well over $1,000, right? Look at this. All this. We get the announcement. We get the trailer. The movie comes out, and now it's not selling for over $1,000 anymore. Look at this. Since May, there's been 1, 2, 3 sales. 3 sales in May for over $1,000. And then after that, nothing. 800, 700, 700, 850, 900. So, one example. You know the character's coming. It increases. You get a trailer. It increases. The movie comes out. Boom. This is nothing new. Nothing new. And Raising Elm, it's not just modern books. Let's go into the next example. Let's go into the next example. It is another modern, but we're not just using modern examples. Thor: Love and Thunder. This movie came out in what? July? It's only been a few months. It's only been a few months, guys. God of Thunder #2, first appearance of Gore the God Butcher. Look at this. I mean, this book was hitting 500, 600 easily. Easily. All these sales. Most of them are over 500, some of them over 600. And then you go to the last couple of months. Look at this. 200, 145, 199. This book can't even break $200 most of the time now. Over the last couple of months, it went from $500 to $600 to $150 to $200 about. You get the announcement, you get the trailer, movie drops, boom. Brandon, what's going on, Brandon? We're going to address that, Brandon, the window of opportunities and stuff. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Nick, stop listening to trolls. I don't know who you're referring to, Nick. Nope. Comic Pro. You're highlighting highest sales and saying they're bad. There were hundreds of sales prior in which those sellers made money. You can't highlight past ceilings as proof. Okay, stop right there. Right there. Not to say what you're bringing to the attention isn't important, because I'm going to get to that. First off, I want to make it clear. I'm not highlighting outliers. I'm not. I'm highlighting fair market value averages over months, because that's how FOMO works. Comic Pro, you're speaking from a seller's standpoint. I'm not talking about a seller. I'm talking about collectors that see these trailers, that get the announcements, right? That get the castings, that go pay this money for these books, knowing that it's dead in the water for you. Anybody that thinks that they're going to watch a trailer or see a casting or an option or some type of reveal and go buy and go spec on that book. How many people have I heard after D23 say, oh, we got the leader? Are you specking on the leader? The leader's already been announced. I'm not specking on anything having to do with the leader, because if I am right now, I'm paying probably the ceiling of where it's going to be for at least a few months until the movie comes out, and then it goes back down. But we're going to address what you're talking about, Comic Pro. But just let me get through my examples. Let me get through these examples, okay? Because there is a flip side to it, and we're going to address that. Next example. Daredevil #9, first appearance of Maya, aka Maya Lopez, aka Echo. This one, man, boom. This was hitting a couple thousand here, but those are kind of outliers. But it was easily hitting $600 to $800 through here for a while. When we got the announcement, and then during the show, it was still, $600, $700 during the Hawkeye show. Now, $380, $312, $315, $340. So over the last since April. And of course, it doesn't move as many units, but hey, demand goes down because we move on to something else, right? Next option. And I told you guys, we're not just going to look at modern books. Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night 32, first appearance of Moon Knight. Let me get some water real quick, and then we're going to look at these numbers, guys. First appearance of Moon Knight. Let's look at 9.4s. I mean, when the show, we knew that the show was coming, and then we get the show. It starts spiking here up to 8, 10,000, 19,000. That's a bit of an outlier. 11,000, 15,000, 10,000, 11,000. But look at this. 8,000, 12,000, 988. So it's definitely averaging lower. Let's look at 9.2s. It's averaging 5, 6, 7, 8, 6, 8. Actually, you don't see much difference here with the 9.2. We got a ton of 9.0s, though, and 8.5. So let's look at these. This one definitely jumped up because during the show, after the announcement, trailer, knowing the show, 5 to 8,000 easily, averaging somewhere around the 6,000 mark. Now it's back down to 4, 4, 4, 4, 4. So you could definitely see the drop there and the cool off. 8.5s. Averaging under 3,000, under 2,000, when during the height, 3, 4, 4, 7, 4, 1, 4, 5,000, 4, 4, 6, 4, 2. So major cool off here. You could tell. Let's look at one more grade, 8.0s. 2,000 under. Here's averaging 4 to 3. A little bit of cool off here. So a little bit more all over the place, but you could definitely see the cool off. And then lastly, we're going to look at Special Marvel Edition 15, Shang-Chi first appearance. And this is, major cool off. This was breaking well over 10,000 during the trailer and the announcement in the trailer before the movie. Well over 10,000, 15, 13. You had an outlier high of 20. That was crazy. 11. Now it's 7, 5, 9, 8. I'm not even paying attention to that. 8. So the 9.8s have dropped. Let's look at 9.6s. 9.6s were averaging 4, 5, 4, 4, 4. Now back down, you see it trending down to 3, 3, 3. 833-222-1999. So, guys, you can pull up almost any, it doesn't matter if it's Bronze Age, Copper, Modern. Yep, exactly. He is making the point on FOMO Pro. It is a fact that does affect the market more than anything else. Goonish, you make a good point here. We'll get to that in a minute. Stephen S., absolutely. I don't know. I never read Echo, but I'm looking forward to her show. Raising Elm, thank you so much. Appreciate the continued support as always. Yeah, I don't look at, and this is why I tell you, there's YouTubers out there that might look at, outliers lows or outlier highs. I never look at outliers. Never. And I say that all the time if you watch my channel, guys. You don't just look at outliers. Don't use like that one 20,000 special edition sale when, it was probably averaging around 12,000. You don't look at that and say, oh, that's what I could sell this for. You also don't look at it and say, oh, well, that's what I should pay. You don't know what that was and why that one outlier sold for what it sold. Okay. Right. In Hartman, I was just saying that. But keep in mind, when you have a trending average, everything that I'm showing you guys is a trending average that lasts months. That's not an outlier. An outlier is 1-2 sales that are way out here than the mean. Okay. I'm not focusing on outliers. I'm focusing on the average sale, the average rolling fair market value once we get an announcement or a trailer or a casting, etc., etc. Fantastic Horror. What is going on? Do you think the spec is taking hits for new buyers, collectors that jumped into the hobby, especially during the past couple of years because paying premium prices? I don't think anybody, here's the thing. I don't know if anybody's feeling burnt out because people are FOMOing right now more than ever before. So let me go back to what Comic Pro, I think it was Comic Pro. Comic Pro was like, no, Journo, you're wrong. You're focusing on ceilings. Hold down. Slow down, Comic Pro. Slow down. No, Chancellor, I disagree 100%. I disagree 100%. First off, you thinking a movie or show is bad is your opinion. This same thing has happened with, Shang-Chi was well received in an excellent film. Yes, there was haters out there. I loved it. And the majority of people loved it or enjoyed it. The book still started going down. You can look at the best rated shows and the best rated, even Thanos' first appearance dipped hard after Endgame. Come on now. So no, Mr. Chandler, I know we all have our opinions on the movies, but interest isn't there long term no matter what the movies do for many of these characters. And I'm going to get to that. JLS, you got it. But so much to get to, guys, and you guys are bringing up a lot of good points. What is the definition of spec? Asks Big Head. Look, guys, spec is simple. You are, go look at the different definition of speculation. You are assuming that a certain book is going to earn you money. You're assuming that if I invest in this comic book, it's going to earn me money. It's going to give me a return on investment, double, triple, or whatever I paid. Specking is dead. If you're waiting for these announcements in movies, in D23s, and you're going off and FOMOing these books, you will lose. But I'm going to get to what Comic Probe was saying. If you look at most of the books that we showed, most of these books, guys, like what was this one? This is Vengeance. Look at Vengeance right now. And you always got to look at fair market value as a rolling average, guys. 850, 800, 700, 750, 800. You can S 900. You can say that the rolling fair market value for a Vengeance #1, first appearance of America Chavez, is roughly around $800. You can say that that's a fair market value average over the last few months for an America Chavez first appearance, right? Let's look at what it was doing before we had an announcement or a trailer. I mean, you go back to even early 2021, 600, 700. So we're still probably averaging a little before that. But look at 2020, 500, 500, 600. And look at early 2020, 300, 280, 290, 250. This book is still selling for almost triple what it was just over 2 years ago. You see what I'm saying? And that's what Comic Pro was trying to point out. But he or she had to let me get there first. This is like, look, MCU investments are not dead. Let me put it like that. MCU speculating on books as long-term investments is not dead. If you do it right and you buy the book before anybody's talking about it, and that's why, guys, if you watch my channel and you see my videos, I've been talking about Rogue for 2 years. Rogue's first appearances have when key books have gone up because people know the X-Men are coming, but I guarantee you though, it's not going up enough right now because there's still the majority of people that are going to sit there and wait for a Rogue casting in the MCU. And do you know what's going to happen to Avengers Annual 10 when we get a Rogue casting in the MCU? Now people are going to want to buy it, and that value is going to double overnight. Like that, mark my word. Once we get a Rogue casting, no matter where the value is at that point, it's going to at least double overnight. That's my prediction for Avengers Annual 10. Why are we waiting for Rogue to get an announcement or a casting? Who does that? If you're in it, and this goes back to why I really question this. Who is left buying these books once we get announcements and trailers? Who is it? Because for the life of me, it can't be people that really care about these characters. It can't be. At least I'm going to think the majority of them aren't that. If you were what are some of the, if you were an America Chavez fan, you would have had that book. If you're a 9.8 buyer, you could have bought it in 2000 for $200. But are you one that paid like $1,500 for it when we got a trailer with her in it for a brief second? If you're a Shang-Chi fan, did you wait for knowing that he's going to show up in the MCU to buy it? Knowing that you paid double of what you could buy it now? I just don't get it anymore. Who is buying these books at these points in time at these prices? Who is it? I mean, we even have okay, we even have Fantastic Four coming, right? But we don't have official castings. We don't have the bad guys. We don't, like, seriously. Doom, I believe Doom and Galactus, and Silver Surfer are three, like, for sure's to me that are going to show up sooner than later. If you really cared about specking, like, I'm in it to spec, and you really cared about making money, why are you not still buying Doom books now? Why are you not buying Silver Surfer books now and Galactus books now? And keep in mind, most of those books have inherent value that's going to be there no matter what happens with the MCU. So if you buy it now, just because of inflation and age and collectability, they're going to appreciate in value from the time that you purchased it. I purchased my Fantastic Four 48, first cameo of Galactus, first appearance of Silver Surfer, in a CGC graded CGC 3.0 for, I believe, was it $800 or just under $800? That book is worth more than twice that the last time I looked. And we still don't have a Silver Surfer or Galactus announcement or even rumor that they're going to show up in the MCU. So what do you think is going to happen when that happens? Bottom tier, I wouldn't say that's necessarily true, because Marvel books, for the most part already, Silver Age Marvel books appreciate better than a lot of DC books unless you are Batman. Unless you're Batman. But to your point, bottom tier, there's a lot of undervaluing going on with DC books right now that you could get in on. So I agree from that standpoint, right? So, guys, I mean, look, and another thing that I think we need to yeah, man, I mean, I'm buying up as many X-Men keys as I can, and I haven't even been buying much, but that's a focal point when I'm looking. Yeah, Mark, you're right. There's been market drop just because of the market itself, but when we could sit here and we can run a regression analysis and try to look at the correlating factors and correlating variables, and regardless of what they're doing, of what the market is doing, and a lot of that drop is for high grade and 9.8s too, just because of the height of the COVID boom. But the bottom line is that this trend was there before COVID for spec. It's been there. I mean, even during the COVID boom, Star-Lord's first appearance was tanking, literally tanking. After it had boomed, over the between like 2014, 2016 or so. After we seen Guardians and fell in love with Guardians on the big screen. Another thing that I want you all to remember is that we are getting hit with so much content, right? It's the MCU content is very similar to the comic book content. The floppy weekly new comic book day comic book content, the monthly titles, right? Or the bi-monthly or the twice monthly titles, right? We have to stop thinking that every little person and character that shows up in the MCU is going to be important to hold value. And I think some people were saying that in the chat. Like, seriously, think about the valuation of comic books before we have the MCU, right? You have intrinsic value and collectability. We collect comics because we love comics. We love the characters. They are a solid investment because of their collectability. We seek out first appearances of cool characters like Wolverine and Deadpool and, Cable, whatever, that's my generation, obviously. Miles Morales. And they gain value because of that. But if Simple Simon shows up in the MCU, Simple Simon, who appeared in 2 comic books ever, who was nobody, are we gonna take that announcement and go freaking pay $500 for a, what is it, Spider-Man 631 or whatever the book is, 623, and pay $500 for that book in a 9.8 because Simple Simon was cast in the MCU? Frogman in She-Hulk, if he's even showing up. This show is a sitcom full of gags. Frogman is going to be introduced as a gag, and we probably won't ever see him again. But yet, you want to go pay, this was maybe a $5 high-grade book before. Now you want to go pay $40 for it because it's going to show up in a She-Hulk episode. Frogman showing up in She-Hulk is not the same as Man-Thing showing up in the Werewolf by Night special, right? So you got to understand that. So then again, I go back to my question. Who's buying these books? Who's FOMOing? Who's FOMOing? Because I guarantee you, not a goddamn person cared about Frogman before we got the news that Frogman's going to show up in She-Hulk. I guarantee every single person that bought that book probably dug through it in a back issue bin or a dollar bin at their LCS and didn't even know what it was. Mr. Chandler, I don't know about that. El Muerto. I came out and got so much crap because I said this is the lamest spec book ever. That book shot up like nuts. You want to bring it up? Let's bring it up. And people thought I was like being racist because he's a Latino character. Boy, you guys don't know me. Come on. Obviously, it had nothing to do with the race, the character's race. I'm bringing it up for you guys here. Muerto, el muerto. Da 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 da. Data, 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 data. Hold on, guys. Look at this. Oh my goodness, my goodness. Wow. Let's bring this up. Bet score. Sorry, man. Is that your guy? Look at this. Look at this high grade. Remember the high grade copies were selling for like over $100? This is madness. Nobody's even buying it. We had one sale in August for 50. When between April and May, they were hitting 120, 140, 170. Oh my goodness. Look at this. 90, 90, 90, 90. Look at this right here. $90, $90, 80, 80, 70. And then 250. That's an outlier. 60, 25, 38, 42. Now they're selling for, well, there's a 40, 20, 15, 25, 17. Wow. What a drop. What a drop, people. And the movie hasn't even come out yet, if it's still gonna even happen. These characters are more popular than ever. Prices will be higher than ever by default. Joel, first off, which characters are you talking about? And prices aren't higher than ever by default. They're higher than ever because of our reaction to the specifics of announcements, castings, trailers, options. It's not default. You can't make it that black and white. These prices shoot up because of the same variables every time, and they drop because of the same variables every time. Because it's not even about the popularity of the character. It's about the FOMO. It's about the popularity of the FOMO among collectors. Nobody is going to... You think Frogman isn't popular? Frogman is a dopamine trigger. Frogman is a dopamine trigger that gets people to feel a dopamine rush to think that there's going to be the fear of missing out on buying that book. And when that auction goes down, they keep hitting that bid until it keeps driving that price up. And then after they show up in the show, a month later, nobody is going to care about Frogman. So, sorry guys, let me get some more water here real quick. I'm trying to read through comments as well. You guys are providing a lot of great feedback. I bought 11 copies of 8 Billion Genies, the Super Mario variant on Whatnot weeks ago for $55 a piece from one seller. Okay, figure drawing. Do you want to come on the show and talk about this? I would gladly welcome you on. Let me know. Give me your email, or you can email me, captainjournocomics@gmail.com. I think you're missing my point, and I would love to try to discuss your point of view and what I'm trying to say with you. No pressure. But listen, I'm not people. Dude, the FOMO is the spec, figure drawing. That's my point. People are specking like crazy right now. Yes, your spec books are dead in the water. That's my point. So figure drawing. You're telling me you spent over $600 on 11 copies of a book because it's an incentive variant and supposedly it's been optioned. Well, let me tell you something, figure drawing. I do hope that it pans out for you in the long term. But 95% of indie option spec plummets off the face of the earth. And that's my point. Why are we still specking with FOMO? Do you really think that those are going to hold at $55 a piece especially if this show doesn't get greenlit. Look at Paper Girls. Paper Girls #1 boomed. The show was great. I loved it. It's been canceled. Go try to buy that book right now on eBay. Or go try to sell that book, I mean. Good luck. Good luck. If you bought Paper Girls #1 a month ago, good luck. You were better off taking that money and going to Las Vegas and putting it on some slot machines. That is my point. Now, again, figure drawing, you're talking about one that is in limbo here because we don't know. I'm impressed by how long 8 Billion Genies has stayed on top. But let's look at the intrinsic variables. It's a limited series, guy. It's not going to have the Walking Dead longevity. It's not going to have the Saga longevity if it doesn't get optioned. And even if it if it doesn't get greenlit, and even if there is a show, it doesn't mean that it's going to hold the value. So, figure drawing, you made a very risky $600 investment. You telling me that doesn't do anything to argue against my point. Spec books are dead in the water. Okay, here we go. Okay, if you can sell for it right now and make a profit, then that's good for you. But again, my stance is the same. If this doesn't get greenlit, like 90% of these option indies do, I guarantee you right now, whatever they're selling for right now is not going to hold. You can LOL me all you want and bro me all you want. First off, there's no reason to take that tone. I backed up and first off, I'm talking specifically about MCU. And you're bringing up indies to argue my point. But you're not arguing my point. You're validating my point. You're validating the fact that people are still out here waiting for something to be optioned, waiting for something to be announced or a casting or a trailer, and they're spending money knowing that in a few months, this money that they spent, that price point that they spent, will not be able to be recouped. It is not recoupable on the secondary market. That is my point. You're not proving me otherwise. And I agree. I agree with you here 100%. And again, when things like this happens, what does that do to the books? So, but now figure drawing, you made a risky investment, right? For that $600 and something for those variants. You got to play the market now. You're taking a risk sitting on the books. Well, say they're going for 150 right now when you could triple your money, right? You could do that and it's a win-win. You triple your money, you're good. But you can wait. And if it actually gets greenlit and we get some characters cast, that book could shoot up to 250. And then what's after quadrupled? I don't even know. You made 5 times your money, right? Then you can sell them. But if that doesn't happen, or it does happen, and it gets greenlit and then it gets canceled, that book's going to drop back down, and it's all a gamble. That's not true. I don't care if you're a millionaire. I don't care if you are a millionaire. A loss is a loss, and you're gambling. It doesn't matter. If you are a millionaire and you put $5 on a football game and that team loses that you bet on, you lost $5. You gambled. That you can't distort the definition of words. Respectfully, I say that respectfully here. I mean, you made money on them. Did you? So you sold them. Did you sell those books? If you sold those books and you made money, that's great. That's great. But if you haven't sold them, you haven't made any money. You do not make or lose money until you sell. And you gamble. I don't care what you call it, figure drawing. I don't know if you're well off and wealthy. That's all good, but you're gambling. That's what it is. It's the definition of gambling. Unless you're in it to buy those books and keep them, just because you want to collect the books and you don't care about the return on investment, whatever. Quintuple, thank you. Okay, again, good for you. Figure drawing. I'm not, you're coming in here thinking that like you're taking everything that I'm saying and taking it completely out of context and taking your little personal experience with one book and trying to argue against me. That's not my point. My point is, if you sell those books right now, you made money. Good for you. People buying them for $400 right now, they're taking an even bigger risk. I'm not talking about that, though. I'm not talking about that. Maybe you bought those books before there was even an announcement of an option. So maybe you were ahead of the curve. Just like every MCU book that I showed off today. Guys, you could have bought every single one of these books that I showed today. Every single one of these books. Well, even this one. Every single one of these books. If you bought these books before the announcements, before casting, before the announcements and trailers, and you sold it today, you would have still made money. If you bought all of those MCU Spec books that have dropped off before any of those factors, casting, announcement, trailer, etc., and you sold today, you still made money. That's not my point. It's not my point. Yep. That's another one. Absolutely. This is a great point. Some people can afford to gamble, some can't, but you still lose regardless. Exactly. Gambling is gambling. DJ Moon. Okay, good. I'm glad you made money off them. But again, I want to move away from your one exclusive variant book that's an indie book that has been optioned that we don't even know if it's going to get greenlit or what it's going to do on the market. I want to move away from that. I don't want to give it any more attention because it's kind of gaslighting the argument here. That's not the point I'm trying to make today. Right, Chris, I hear that. Well, thank you. GT Key Comic, I really appreciate that feedback. I do. I made mistake on Vengeance 1 and Gore. Yeah. Here's the thing though. Now let's put another aspect of investing, not even speculating. This is why even if you're in the spec market, you got to look at the bigger picture of investments. We know that there's more risk involved in modern books because you got to take into consideration intrinsic value. Werewolf by Night number 32 got a big jump because of the trailer, announcement and trailer. After the show, it's dropped off. But here's the thing. Because it is a already intrinsically valued book, Bronze Age key, even if you paid a price at that peak during the trailer and all that, you don't lose until you sell. You hold that book right now, and in 5 more years, especially 10 more years, I bet you that book is back at that peak or above that peak. That's why you got to look at all factors, even if you just want to speculate. Gord the God Butcher, you may have lost for good. Because while I do believe with Gord the God Butcher being a modern book, it could continue to dip. Especially we don't ever see him in the MCU again. Who knows? And that's that. It's a villain. I do see that book possibly starting to come back up some long term, 10 years from now, as it ages out some, but I can't sit here and even say it's ever going to be at the peak of where it was. There's a lot of them out there, and, a lot of high grades, and most of that hype was because of the MCU. Oh, he's showing up in the movie. I have to buy it. It's that simple. America Chavez, on the other hand, I think is one that we're going to see her again and again in the MCU. And even though it's a modern book, she's in that same realm as Miles Morales. She's not Miles Morales. Let me get that straight. But she's in that same realm. I do believe that Vengeance number 1 is a solid long-term investment. Even if you bought it at the peak, I do believe maybe in 5 to 10 years, it's going to be at that peak or above it, especially if she continues to get well received in the MCU. There was she didn't even do anything, but I think the majority, there was a larger percentage of people that watched Multiverse of Madness that actually enjoyed her character. And, she has a great potential in the MCU. I really hope that Marvel and the comic books can start really getting behind these characters and writing good stories. I think these young characters like America, Miles, Riri, Ironheart, Sam Alexander, they need some really good stories. Kamala, we can't just have crap shooting, 2-word bubble a page comic books that we're paying $3.99, $4.99 for. We need some substance there to build these, because remember, value is intrinsic to comic books. We value the comic books because of the comics first. Have we forgotten that? We don't just value books because we see characters show up in a movie or a TV show. But then I got to ask myself, is that what so many of us are thinking? And who are buying these books? Who is it that are buying these books at those specific times? What do you want me to do, man? That's awesome. You made money off of them. And thank you for clarifying. You bought the books before the announcement. So I'm not talking about you. I'm not talking about people like you. Good for you. That's what you need to do if you want to even take a risk in investing and flipping and speculating. You bought the books at the retail that they were going for, $55, and you flipped them for a couple hundred, 300, whatever, because of the FOMO, the spec FOMO, and most likely now those $400 price points that they're selling, especially if it's not greenlit or it gets canceled after one season. So good for you. You're not the people that I'm talking about today. I don't know what you want from me. Los, what's going on, Los? I'm selling my bloodstones while it's hot. Yep. Well, see, here's the thing. Yeah, Simon. I mean, these people, and not like so. Figure drawing is he's here saying, okay, I'm looking to invest and flip. Figure drawing buys 5 copies of a sawed out Nintendo variant. An incentive that was $55 retail. He bought a few copies, sold some, made some money. Now he's got a couple of CGC. He's ahead of the game and speculating ahead of the game. Who are these people that wait for the trailer, that wait for the option announcements, that wait for the casting? Are they collectors or are they investors? Well, first off, let me say, you guys know me. I don't put people in boxes. I'm a collector. I'm an investor. I guess you could say speculate, I hoard, I collect runs, I sell comics now. I do all of the above because I love comics. I do believe that the people that buy with FOMO after these announcements, I do believe they have in mind money, making money. I do. I do believe that the majority of the people that buy at these balloon prices, once you get an announcement or an option or a casting or a trailer, are people that have FOMO because they don't want to miss out on dollar signs. I do think that there are a small percent of people that they are collectors that simply want the book. Maybe they care about long-term value, but maybe they still fear. Maybe it's a bit of FOMO, but maybe they're like, well, I'm willing to pay a little more now because I'm late to the show, right? Even if it cools off a little, though, I'm okay with that. Like, I really like this character. I want to buy it. Or maybe they think, well, this is a Silver Age or a Bronze Age first appearance of this character. I may be paying high now, and it may dip off some, but I'm confident that it's like 10 years from now, it's gonna increase again. I do believe there are people that do that, but I think that's more with books like probably like Moon Knight's first appearance or a Moon Knight #1 next to Frogman, or even a character like Echo, or even a character like the Leader. You get some of these more minor characters. I do believe it's more people that probably never cared about the character, maybe never even knew who the character was, and they see dollar signs and they can't control themselves. They can't control the dopamine rush. And quite honestly, I do believe it is a sad state for a lot of people. Let's see what we got. I inherited my father's comics. Figure we are all glad you won. Oh, you guys are having some in-chat convos. Josh answered that question. A small group of speculators selling between each other can jack a price up, doesn't validate that a book is worth anything to general population. John, did I say Josh? John, thank you for this, John. I want to address this real quick. I do want to address this. I think there's kind of two sides to this, guys. As I usually say often, I am not one. I don't buy into the conspiracy theories. I don't buy into jumping to conclusions and pointing fingers, because that's what we do often in this community. Anytime a book sells for a record-breaking price, it's shill bidding. Like we just point the finger whenever it's something we don't like. Always. I see it happens all the time. And it's like the boy who cried wolf. You know, you point the finger and you blame and you call, you create all these conspiracy theories. It invalidates the argument for when it really happens. Right? So I want to make that be known right now. Like, not everything is a shill bid. Not everything is like somebody's manipulating the market. But to John's point, we know that there are shady people out there. And we know that there are some people out there that might be able to just look at one or two sales and say, oh man, that book has jumped 4 times the value. I guess I need to pay that much now. And sometimes that does happen. That's why I always tell you guys, have patience and don't just look at the last sale or the last 2 sales. Don't. It doesn't validate, like John said here, it doesn't validate a fair market value. And oftentimes, even if there isn't shill bidding going on or somebody selling to somebody else, all it takes is 2 people in their FOMO to bid one book up. And then they set a new precedent. And then everyone gets in the FOMO. You could have a $5 book that was $5 for years. West Coast Avengers 45. And as soon as we get a reveal or something, all it takes is a few people that are up late at midnight. Oh my God, I just saw him in the MCU. $5, $10 to $150 raw. Like that. And just because 1 or 2 people bid it up, everyone else says, well, shoot, I need to get my hands on mine and I'm going to bid up past 150. Nobody ever validated that price. And we don't allow the fair market value to organically and naturally progress. We don't allow demand to meet up with the supply to meet up with demand. It's like this. Can you imagine? Say it's Wednesday, right? And it's 4th of July weekend coming up. And you're going to the cabins or something. You got a boat. You're going to the lake for 4th of July weekend. You're bringing your boat, bringing your family, and you're making hot dogs. But you go to the store and you get there and you see a huge line rushing up to the hot dogs. And people are grabbing the hot dogs, and you get there right when like 3 other people are there, and you're all grabbing the last pack of hot dogs real quick. And you're fighting over it, right? And you guys are running up to the line and you're fighting, hey, I was there first. I was there first. And the cashiers or the grocery store workers are saying, guys, calm down. I know it's 4th of July weekend coming up. I know you want your hot dogs. But we're getting a new shipment in at midnight tonight. And it's going to be plenty. If you didn't get some, just come back tomorrow, because you could buy a few packs. But instead of doing that, you go online, and again, this is just a hypothetical. Now the person that was there before you, in front of you, they got the last pack of hot dogs, right? Now he's listing that pack of hot dogs on eBay. And everyone else that didn't get their hot dogs are bidding a 5-pack of hot dogs up to $100, $150 for that pack of hot dogs because you need that pack. And you can't wait for tomorrow to take a little trip back out to the grocery store and wait to pay $4.99 for your pack of hot dogs. That's what we're doing with the FOMO, because if you look at West Coast Avengers 45, it wasn't like anybody was paying attention to it. And you may have only had a handful of listed on eBay. But you know damn well, right when people that had a bunch, they went and listed them. So instead of the few people fighting over the 1 pack of hot dogs, the few West Coast Avengers books, and bidding them up to 150, and then bidding the few 9.8s up to what was the 9.8 selling for? 12, 1300? Up from like $150, $200 9.8 book, if that. Now 9.8s can't even sell for, I think, $400. Why? Because everyone fought over the last pack of hot dog and didn't wait for everyone to come bring the rest of the hot dogs that were going to be available. Does that make sense? So it's not even that there's shill bidding going on or somebody manipulating the market. We're doing it ourselves. Because we need it now. And all the sellers that are sitting on these books were like, whoa, shoot, well, I didn't expect that to be a hot book. Let me go send my books to CGC to get a 9.8 and wait 6 months. And then everybody's listing their 9.8s. And now you have tons of packs of hot dogs. Now you have so many packs of hot dogs. They're, flooding out of the store, and nobody wants hot dogs because 4th of July already passed. All right, catching up on chat, guys. What do we got? If there is more interest in a book from speculators than there is from the casual collecting community, then that book will always eventually drop in value. Joseph. I guess it depends on what you define as speculator. Because let me play devil's advocate, Joseph. A speculator shouldn't be buying books after an announcement or a trailer or a casting. So that's my point. It makes no sense. I know I'm getting loud. I'm just getting excited. It's like, if you are in this game to speculate, and I've said this before, it's not that hard to put the pieces together, guys. We knew the MCU was going cosmic years ago now. You should have been bought your Nova books. You should have been bought your Warlock books. I got dozens of them. Now we know he's here. You should be buying your Quasar books. Your Galactus books, your Silver Surfer books. We knew the MCU was going horror. You should have been buying your Man-Thing books, your Dracula books, your Tomb of Dracula books, your Werewolf by Night books, your, the Realm of the Mystic Arts, your Mephisto books. Not during WandaVision, though. You see what I'm saying? We knew it was going younger. Your Young Avenger books. We know Spidey's going into colleges is going to get more street level. Your Tombstone books, your Kingpin books, before we even knew that D'Onofrio was coming back into the MCU proper. If you are a speculator, you are not, or you should not be buying books after an announcement, a trailer, a casting, an option, period. You should be ahead of the curve and sitting on them, and you should be selling. If you are a true speculator, you should be selling when you get an announcement and a casting and a trailer. It makes no sense. So, while I understand, Joseph, what you're saying, how do we define speculator? Because if you are defining yourself as a speculator and you're waiting for all these factors to happen, you're doing it wrong. And look, there's no right or wrong way to collect comics, but if you're in it for money and we're talking investments, there is a right and wrong way to invest, because losing on investments is doing it wrong. Yeah, Matt, and you're buying a Silver Age book with that Tales to Astonish. So, you balance that out. You balance that out. Figure drawing, I don't know why you continue to look, I know, I appreciate you. I know, I know you watch the shows and you bring, obviously I've been giving your comments a hefty amount of attention today, but I feel right now you're being counterproductive. I explained. You're sitting here trying to gaslight me about the title of the video. You're taking my words out of context. I'm going to explain it one more time, and maybe for those people that weren't here earlier. When I say MCU Spec is dead, I mean you're doing it wrong, and they are dead upon arrival, because the values are going to drop if you're buying them again, I keep repeating myself. If you watch a trailer, if you wait for a casting, for an announcement of a show, there is middle ground here, right? There's middle ground. Like Secret Wars was announced. Well, there's some middle ground right now to spec on some Secret Wars material. But once we get castings and trailers and all that, you're way late. We're going to get the movie, and then boom. Spec is dead to me because we're doing it wrong. People are doing it wrong. There is no value to be had if you are speccing in this fashion. Again, like I said, people are sitting there watching D23 coming on YouTube. What are you speccing on? Are you speccing on Red Guardian? Are you speccing on the Leader? Are you speccing on Thunderbolts? No, I'm not speccing on any of that. If I was, I made my purchases months ago. Because speccing on it now, I am dead in the water on my investments. It's pointless. It's pointless. Will I be on the lookout for some of these books if I could still find them in back issue bins and, whatever, maybe. Hey, man, it's just my opinion. It's all my opinion. You got to understand this, and I'll say this confidently and firmly. The comic book market in general, the secondary market, has always bounced back. The comic book market has never suffered a real recession. Never. And by that, you could look at 5-year increments, even for modern keys. The 95+% of the market, even right now, is worth more than it was 5 years ago. And I'm confident in saying books like Vengeance #1 or Werewolf by Night 32, Modern to Bronze Age, because we can eliminate the MCU spec around these books and consider the fact that the general market has dipped some and they're still worth more than they were before any MCU news. They have set new floors and new thresholds. Comic books in general, as keys, do appreciate in value. We know that Era is beginning to appreciate in value more and more. We could go to the Silver Age now, and it doesn't even need to be a key book. A Silver Age Fantastic Four book that isn't a key, and a nice, maybe high mid grade 5 years ago, you could still find them for under $10. Now, good luck finding them for under 25, 30 bucks. Amazing Spider-Man, Silver Age, non-key books. 5 years ago, $15, $25 in a higher mid-grade. Good luck finding them for under 50, under 60 now. Even Bronze Age books are doing the same thing. High mid-grade Bronze Age books, even for runs like Avengers or Fantastic Four, you could find them in dollar bins 5 years ago. You can still find them in dollar bins. Now, good luck finding them stickered for under $4 or $5. I mean, of course, you know, your low mid grades, you still might find them stickered for $2 or $3. And if they're really beat up, you can still find some in dollar bins. Sure. That is aging out and inflation right there. Copper Age books are following a similar trend. We're not there with modern books yet. I don't know. But the one good thing that modern books have is, even though we're taking care of them, bagging and boarding them, a lot more high grades, they're not mass produced anymore. That's a fact. Yeah, and I want to remind people, guys, that I'm focusing on the dynamic of the MCU spec. And remember, I refer back to Swaggle's video that he did earlier today. We didn't do these. He said spec is dead. Just kidding. Haha. I'm saying MCU spec is dead, but he was basically pointing out the FOMO. People are still speculating. I'm stating that your speculation, your FOMOing out on your spec is dead in the water. That's what I'm saying. Your spec is dead. Because you're going to buy it, it's going to balloon, and then it's going to drop. Bottom tier, thank you. Absolutely. But I will say it does matter what the title is, because the title is important to what I'm talking about. But so often than not, I do feel that people try to distort my intent, or maybe they just honestly don't understand it. Haha. Hey, man. I'm not going to argue there. I'm not going to argue, David. Jeezy. So here's the thing. Deadpool spec isn't even spec anymore, really. It's an investment. It is arguably a modern blue chip key. This book has came back up on the market. And I think when we get a trailer for Deadpool 3 in the MCU, I think it's going to spike up again. And it'll probably cool off again. But this is a book that this is a long-term investment book. So I would just be careful if we get an announcement or a trailer about a Deadpool 3 to be careful, because it could spike up again. And if it does, are you going to wait to buy it then? Here's my thing, guys. Let me, we're going to wrap up the show soon here, but this is very important right here. Very, very important. I want everyone to hear me out. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Listen. The point I want to get across today is this. We can collect comic books and speculate on future value. That's basically what speculating is. I said that earlier in the show. Whether you want to spec on a book because you think the factors that are going to drive the value are due to more inherent and intrinsic values to the book. I'm specking on Silver Age Amazing Spider-Man because I just think that that's going to give me a higher return on investment in the years to come. Right? That's speculation. It is, because you're speculating on future value. Doesn't have nothing to do with the MCU or movies or anything like that. But if you want to be an investor in comic books and you're speculating on future value based on the MCU, don't wait until you see a trailer or till you get a casting call or casting announcement. Don't wait. Be ahead of the curve. Put your thinking cap on and figure out what you think is going to come next, right? But if something does get announced, Man-Thing. Don't go buy Man-Thing #1 right now. And again, look, guys, let me preface this. Do whatever you want with your money. Do whatever you want with your money. This is just my own suggestions. If you love Man-Thing and that's your character and you got money to spend, go ahead, do your thing. But if it was me, and we're using Man-Thing as an example, I'm not buying Man-Thing 1 right now. You know what I'm doing? I'm waiting. Man-Thing's going to show up in October in this Werewolf by Night special. I bet Man-Thing's going to show up, might have a little role, and then we're not going to see him again. We might see him again later on the line, but maybe not for a while. People are going to forget about Man-Thing. And if you weigh in the variables, and I could be wrong, but 9 out of 10 times, if you missed out on a character, you have a better chance of waiting to buy that book until after the show or after the movie. You have a better chance of spending less money waiting until after the show or after the movie, period. I gave you guys, 6, 7 examples today. I could go and bring up a couple dozen more. Be ahead of the curve. But if you wait and we get a casting and we get a trailer, it might be better for you to keep your FOMO in check, chill, breathe, wait for the movie or the show, and then go out into the market afterwards with patience, being smart, not hopping on the first book you see, never being afraid to barter with the seller, and being a wise buyer, collector, / speculator, whatever you want to call yourself. That is my advice, folks. I can't believe that we really want to call ourselves, for those that do this, if you're calling yourself a speculator, or even if you don't call yourself a speculator, but you're in it for the money, and you're buying these books at their peak after these variables happened with the castings and the trailer, I don't know what to say anymore. I don't know what to say. I've beaten a dead horse. But at the end of the day, I want everyone to be happy. Collect what you want. Collect what you're passionate about. Be willing to take the risk. If you're out there looking at it as an investment, speculating, be willing to take the risk as long as you're happy for it. Do not get burnt out. But seriously, look inside of yourself and ask yourself, am I buying this because I want it? Because am I buying this because I think I can make money off of it? Or am I buying it because I'm uneducated to it and I simply am wanting a dopamine fix? You got to ask yourself that, folks. Seriously. I mean, seriously, not even joking around. Because it's important that we stay mentally and emotionally and spiritually healthy, even with comic book collecting. And we don't ever want to make investment decisions to where it becomes an addictive behavior. We don't want to do that. So, guys, with that being said, I'm gonna try to read a few comments here before we head out. Yeah, and remember what I said too, guys. I'm gonna reiterate this: don't put the same energy into random little side characters that aren't important, unless they're important to you, unless you really enjoy this character, right? I pretty much agree. Obviously, modern books are more volatile, and the lesser characters are more volatile. But I mean, not every comic appreciates, because you got to look at a lot of '90s comics and modern comics, and a lot of them can't even be sold for cover price. X11, thank you so much. Thank you, Daniel, for sure, for sure. I get FOMO for characters that have no news. I'm with you, Steven. Copper and bronze, once a long time considered modern when they were actually modern, right? Yeah, they need to change the tiers for sure. Absolutely. It's time. It's absolute time. Thank you, Goonish. Chris, I mean, look, supply and demand is simple, but it's not that simple when we talk about what drives the market. Because remember, supply is only what's available on the market at any given time. People confuse what supply and demand means quite often. And I just gave a concept today where we don't even allow supply to catch up to demand, and we're driving values up unorganically. If one collects what they love, that's what it's all, and that's what it all boils down to. Absolutely. Yeah, that's what I want to know. We got to get a panel together. We got to get a panel together and start really figuring this out. I think so. I think the modern age, first off, copper runs until 1992. And I think the modern age should run from about 93 to about maybe 2007. And I like what somebody said about 2008 to like say 2020 or 2007. That's kind of like the movie age, right? And then I do think we're in a new era right now, in a new age right now. The post-COVID market, I think, is the dawning of a new age. 100%. I do. Thank you, Simon. Appreciate it as always. For sure, Matt. All right, guys, we are going to sign out. Remember, guys, please subscribe to the channel if you're not yet. I'm so close to 12,000 subscribers. We're going to have a giveaway once I hit that number. Friday Night Live show this Friday, time to be determined. I will be doing my patron Q&A live, so you guys get to all be a part of that. I am planning my next Whatnot sale. It's going to be an all Avengers themed sale. Look for that in about maybe 2 weeks, but I'll, of course, announce it beforehand. No comic book canon show this Sunday, but we'll be back next week. And remember, guys, we have 2 segments on the canon show that you guys can participate in. Fresh from the comic shop and Propsters Flops. Check out the comic book canon link below to learn more about how you guys can be a part of the show. Hartman Cards said, thank you guys so much. Brendan, thank you guys for hanging out today. Appreciate you all. Be well, be safe, and until next time.